Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us at today's Cambridge HOTmaths webinar. My name is Victoria Cook. I'm the Cambridge HOTmaths Product Manager here at Cambridge University Press, and today I'll be taking you through the HOTmaths website, looking particularly at briefly at the student resources and then at some of the teacher tools that you might not have come across yet. So before I log in, I'd just like to point out to you on the home page here, there is a little Try It Now button. So if you haven't yet got a HOTmaths account and you'd like to sign up for one and take it away at the end of this, you can sign up there and receive a 2-week trial immediately. Or of course, contact your Cambridge rep and they'll be able to set you up with something a little bit longer if you require that. But what I'll do now is I'll just log in and we'll get started. Alright, so for those of you who have looked at HOTmaths last year, or who have used HOTmaths in the past, this new site might look a little bit different to you. And the reason that we have changed the look and feel of this homepage is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we've gotten rid of a lot of that text, which could have been a little bit confronting for some of the younger students. And we've also made all of these buttons so that it works a lot better on tablets. So if any of your students are using iPads, they'll be able to navigate through HOTmaths using this version much more easily. If you do still prefer the old look and feel from last year, there is a link up the top of the page, and from there you can go back to the old look and feel. And that link will be there for a few months just to give you time to get used to the new look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by showing you some of the student resources that are available in HOTmaths. And the first thing that we have to do there is choose the course that we'd like to follow. So you'll see up the top of the screen here I've got the course button. I'm currently in a generic HOTmaths Global course. It's been designed to suit as many states and curricula as possible. But you can also drill down. So if you're using an associated Cambridge textbook at your school, for example, Cambridge Essential Maths, Cambridge Essential Gold Maths, ISOM, Primary Maths, Cambridge Maths for the New South Wales syllabus, any of those textbooks, there is a HOTmaths course that's been designed specifically to match those. So I'll just go in and show you, for example, I'll have a look at the Cambridge Essential Maths course here on HOTmaths, and I'm going to have a look at the Year 7 course. So I'll just update my course preferences there. Alright, so now we've selected the Essential Maths Year 7 textbook, and I'm just going to click on Navigate Course to go into the HOTmaths content. The first thing you'll see there is that cover image up the top. So that's actually taken from the cover of the Essential Maths Year 7 textbook. So it's just there to help your students make sure that they're in the right part of the HOTmaths website. The other thing that you'll notice is that the material has been arranged to match each chapter and unit of the textbook. So if we have a look at Chapter 2, you can see that we've got all of the material laid out to match each topic and unit of Cambridge Essential Maths Year 7. If we go into a single lesson, there's one other thing I'll show you here. So I'm just going to click on that first one there, and I'll go through all of this in a bit more detail in a moment, but just to let you know, if you are using Cambridge with an associated text, when you scroll down to the bottom of these resources here, you'll notice that we've actually popped PDF textbook sections right within HOTmaths. So you and your students can access the PDF of the text from within the HOTmaths website. To do that, you just need to click on the textbook PDF, and the first time you do that, it will ask you to type in your Go code. And the Go code is from the inside front cover of your Cambridge textbook, or if you bought a digital book, it might have been delivered in a sealed pocket or in an email from your bookseller. If you have any difficulty with that, please let us know. But otherwise, we've just popped that in there to make it really easy for students when they are studying to have access to all of their resources in the one spot. Alright, now I'm going to go back to our dashboard here, and I'll show you through the student resources. Now, I'm going to have a look at just a generic course rather than one that's matched to the textbook, and I'm going to choose HOTmaths Global just because that's our broadest possible course, and I'm going to have a look at something from middle secondary. So I'll just update my course preferences there, go back into Navigate Course, and you can see here I've got a range of topics available to me. So what I might start with today is I might have a look at the topic of reasoning and geometry. And you can see straight away that there's 4 lessons available in that topic. Now, as teachers, you can actually ask your students to take a quick topic quiz before they go into any one of those particular lessons, and that'll help you get a snapshot of exactly how your students are doing over the whole topic. So to show you what that looks like, I'm just going to click on the Topic Quiz tab, and you can choose a topic at level 2, level 3 or challenge level. I'll give you a bit more information about those different levels in a moment, but for now let's have a look at a level 3 topic quiz. And you can see straight away the students get given 1 question from each lesson in that topic. I'm just going to pop any answers in here. I'm not going to take your time putting all the right answers in. But you get an idea of the sorts of questions that they're going to be receiving. And once I'm happy with that, I'll check the answers. And you can see I've answered questions from the following lessons incorrectly. So while that's not particularly useful to me just to look at one student, you do have the option of looking at that for your whole class. So if I just go back to the dashboard, and I'll bring up the reports and show you what that report looks like. So I'm clicking on the reports button there, and I'm just going to choose my demo class by clicking on the class name, and I'm going to ask for a topic quiz report. And today I'm just going to look for a topic quiz in an area that I know I have some results to show you. So you can see I can bring that report up in a printable PDF, or if I want it in Excel to drop into a mark book, I can do that. But I'm going to bring it up using the View button today, because that means it's going to bring up an interactive version of the report. Alright, there we go. So this is a topic quiz report. Now the way that it works is you've got all of your students in your class listed down the left here. This is obviously quite a small demonstration class that I've got. And then you've got all the lessons within the topic going across the top. They're listed up here, or you can hover over them and see. So in this report, a green tick represents questions answered correctly, and a red dot represents questions answered incorrectly. So as a teacher, you can ask your class to take a quick topic quiz, submit their answers, and you can actually sit up the front of the class and just refresh this report. And what this shows you, for example, is that in column D there's a long line of red dots there, so your whole class might be struggling with the topic of Roman numerals. Or you can look at it just at particular students and see that Chris Jones, for example, has got a lot of red dots next to his name, so maybe he's struggling not just with Roman numerals but with the whole topic. Now, because I brought this report up in an interactive form, I can actually click on his name and drill down to get a bit more information about what sort of work that student's been doing on HOTmaths recently. So that's a really nice tool for teachers to sort of instantly diagnose their class's strengths and weaknesses. Now I'll go through these reports in more detail later on, but for now I'm just going to close them down. And let's go back and we'll actually start having a look at some of the student resources. So I'll just go back to the dashboard. I'm going to go back to the Navigate course page, and again I was looking at reasoning and geometry, and I'm going to have a look at the lesson of angles and polygons. Alright, so this screen here, this is the lesson or the basic unit of work in HOTmaths. So each lesson has been designed to cover roughly one concept. Now there's a lot of different ways that you can use HOTmaths in the classroom. You'll see at the top of these lesson notes on the left you've got the option to print them out or to bring them up full screen, so that means that they're really useful for use with an interactive whiteboard or with a data projector. And these lesson notes also give you links to a range of different resources. So you can see first of all this plane shape is a hyperlink, and when we click on it we get a dictionary definition for that term. Now the HOTmaths dictionary is available for all sorts of mathematical terms all across the site. It gives you examples, it gives you links to further terms, and it also gives you links to related lessons. So the dictionary is a really nice tool for investigations, and it's also quite helpful for students when they're working at home. The other thing that we've got here in the lesson notes, I'll just scroll through and give you an idea of the sorts of material we've got there. So we've got a few more dictionary links. And you can see here we've also got a link to click to go back and review the angle sum of a triangle. So before students start working on this lesson, if they need to revise some earlier learning, they can click and they'll get earlier work from an earlier year level just to help them revise. So the whole site is open for them and they can go back and forth as they need. Now I'll just close down that earlier lesson and we'll keep going through the one that we're looking at now. You can see as we go through there's links to widgets and hot sheets and solutions. So you can either follow the lesson notes and go through them that way, or particularly in secondary school your students might just want to jump straight into them, especially the widgets. So I'll give you an example of what the widgets are. We've got 3 attached to this particular lesson. So I'll open up the first one for you here in the Resources tab. And I'll just bring that one up full screen for us. So again, this is brilliant on an interactive whiteboard. Some of the widgets are designed for students to work with and play with themselves. So this one here, we're just working out how to cut a shape into the minimum number of triangles. So this one is really actually just getting the students to try it for themselves. They can change the number of sides, they can manipulate the shape a little bit. It's just a nice little interactive to get them to start thinking about how that's been worked out. If I close that one and just take us back to our resource list, you'll see we've got another interactive or a widget available in this lesson, the turtle walk. This is a really nice one. And this one is more designed for really to bring concepts to life for visual learners. So you can choose the shape, you've got regular or irregular. You can have it on autoplay, or you can pause it at any point. So you might want to pause it now and ask the students what they think that final angle will be. But it's really designed just to make maths really clear and help students get a very good understanding of these concepts. If we go back to the resources list again, you'll see there's just one more widget attached to this lesson, and this is another really nice one. Again, this is one where the student's being asked to play and explore and try it out themselves, so works wonderfully on an interactive whiteboard or with a data projector, or of course students can play with it on their own. This is really nice, just showing the students what happens to angles and the angle sum when they adjust one angle in a shape. And they can even do that, which is really nice, and watch how that affects the overall angle sum. Alright, so there's a range of interactive widgets available throughout the site. As a teacher, if you are looking for something to teach a new concept, I would always recommend just using this little search function up the top here, and that allows you to search the whole HOTmaths site. So if at the end of this webinar you think you'd really like to use that turtle walk one in your classroom, you can just put in turtle and search for all the widgets where that's a relevant term, or you can search for polygons, whatever you remember. It's quite a powerful search tool, and it's a really quick and easy way of finding resources that you can use instantly. Now the next thing that we've got here in our resources tab are hot sheets and hot sheet solutions. So to give you an idea, the hot sheets are really designed as printable worksheets. They are designed to be printed out for the students to complete on paper, but they're designed as learning tools and sort of enrichment activities. So I'll just scroll through and give you an idea of the sorts of material that we've got in there, and the sorts of questions that we've got there. Hot sheets often have games or pair work, small group work, or real-world explorations. So if we have a look at this next one here, Round the Window, this is a really good example of one where the students are being asked to apply their maths to a real-world problem. So it's all the maths a student would need to create this particular door frame, window frame rather. And you can see the sorts of ideas and things that are being brought up there. And in this particular one, you've also got a further investigation on top of that. Now, we do always provide the solutions for these hot sheets here. They are available to the students as well as to the teachers. And the reason that we've made them available to students as well is because they're really learning tools. So you'll see that, for example, we've got the answers here, but we've also got some commentary on how those answers have been achieved. So they're there for the students to work through. We do have other parts of the HOTmaths website that have been designed more for testing, and I'll show you that as we go through this webinar today. But this one here is really a little bit more open-ended. Alright, so those are the first few resources within a single lesson. So we've got our lesson notes that we can follow through. We've got the resources that are quite exploratory. The next tab along is Walkthroughs. So this is where maybe you're demonstrating a new concept to students or they're starting to work on their own. And these are really assisted problem solving. So if I have a look at Walkthrough 2, for example, you get given the problem. And once you click Start, you can see straight away that there's going to be 3 steps to solving this problem. If you get the answer correct, you get given some feedback and you get to move on. If you get the answer incorrect, you get given a hint as to how to work it out, and if the second time you get it incorrect, you get given the correct answer and how it's been worked out. So students will always get the correct answer after they've attempted this a couple of times. It's just a way of breaking down problems for them, and it's particularly useful for students who might be working at home. They're consistently coming up with the wrong answer, but they're just not sure at what step in the process they're having difficulty. So those walkthroughs are there, and there's a whole range of them available. The next tab along that I wanted to show you is Scorcher. So this is once students have started exploring the site, they've done a little bit of assisted problem solving, and now they're ready to start building up their fluency. So Scorcher allows students to compete against other students around the world, or just in their school, or just in their class. Now you'll see straight away you get given a set of 10 quick questions. I'm just going to pop any answers in here to give you an idea of the sorts of questions that we have there. And this is something that students are really fond of, this part of the site. It's very popular with them. But also as teachers, you could use this for 10 quick questions to start a lesson, or if you need to revise some earlier learning when you're starting a new concept. This is a really quick, fun and easy way to bring things up. And once I've gone through and answered those questions as a student, I can click and go back to anything that I've answered correctly or incorrectly and see the full answer and how it's been worked out. I've just closed that back down and I'm back to the HOTmaths site. So students have now worked through, done a little bit of exploration, done a little bit of problem solving, started building up their fluency, and now they're ready to test themselves. So we've got questions, which is the final tab here. Now you'll notice before when we were in the topic quiz, we only had topic quizzes available for level 2, 3 and challenge. The reason for that is because the level 1 questions, the answers are found in the lesson notes to the left of the screen. So those questions are really just testing for comprehension of the lesson notes, which is why they didn't really work in the topic quiz sense. To give you an idea of what they look like, just going to click on level 1 here. And as a teacher, you can click through these and have a look and see the sorts of material available. Level 2 questions are single step. They're normally reasonably straightforward as well. Level 3 questions are normally multiple steps, and it's where your students might need to start taking out a pen and paper. And challenge level questions are, as you might imagine, a little bit challenging. So this doesn't mean that these questions can't be tackled by students of all ability levels. Sometimes they might just need help breaking down the question into its component parts, or sometimes these are quite good to print out and set for your classes as small group work. But just to sort of give you an idea, there are plenty of resources there for students at all different ability levels. So that's a really brief summary of some of the main student resources that are available. Before we go too far, I will just jump in and show you where all of that student work gets recorded. Because of course as a teacher you need to know what work your students have been doing and how they've been performing. So I'm just going to go back to the dashboard here, and I'm going to click on that reports button again. Now in the reports area you can choose to look at an individual student by clicking on that little plus button next to the class name and then choosing an individual student, or I'm just going to look at whole class reports and I'm going to look at them in an interactive mode. So if I'm worried about any student, I can drill down. So I'm going to look at my demo class, and you can see here I've got a whole topic summary report. I'll just change that to something where I've got some data to show you, and I'll bring it up in interactive mode. Now you can see that this is really quite a broad overview. So all this is telling you is that these particular students, so Georgia Bubble for example, has achieved the level 1, 2, 3 and challenge level questions at this particular lesson in the topic. So you can see at the top here, A is extending place value, or we'll just hover over it and that should pop up for us. So it's really a traffic light system to give you an idea of what your students have achieved and at what level. There's also a note there that this shows you the number of walkthroughs that your students have attempted as well. Now when I say the students have achieved a level, so that they've had that square coloured in, to achieve a level the students must answer at least 4 questions correctly from each level. The reason we've set that at 4 questions is because there's a minimum of 8 author-written questions available for every level in every lesson. So once they've got 4 right, we've said that they've met at least a minimum standard of achievement. Sometimes students will go ahead and keep answering questions until they've answered all of them right. So even though they've achieved a level at 4, they might go through and answer all 8 or all 10 or all 12, just so that they can sort of feel like they've ticked off the whole lot. Alright, so that's a broad overview. If I close that one, there's a topic quiz report. That's the one we saw before with the green ticks and the red dots. Or there's a class lesson report. So this one is where you get a bit more detail. So in this particular report, now you can see the students' actual responses and how they're tracking. So for example, this first student here, Georgia Bubble, has completed 4 walkthroughs. The level 1 questions in this lesson, she's answered 11 in total and she's answered 8 of them correctly. And you can see that no students have done any scorcher for this particular lesson. So that's quite a handy detailed report for you if you want to see not just that your students have achieved, but how long it's taken them to get there. The final report that I wanted to show you here was the Student Topic Reports Whole Class. Now this is something that your students can access for themselves as well. And this one here is actually only available as a PDF or as an Excel document, just because it pulls together a lot of information. So I'm going to pull up a PDF version. And the reason that we've got this in PDF is because this is one that teachers most often print out and use for parent-teacher evenings. So you can see there, what we've got is 1 page per student covering all the work that they've done in a single topic. So in this one we're looking at all the work that Georgia Bubble has done in the topic of understanding whole numbers. So we've got all of her walkthroughs, we've got all of the questions she's answered, the ones that she's achieved and the ones that she hasn't quite achieved yet, and her total attempts versus her total correct score. And if we scroll down a bit, we've also got all of her previous topic quiz reports. So that's really a quite comprehensive report, and I know that some teachers do ask students to print this out and bring it in themselves for parent-teacher evenings, which can be a really nice way of inspiring the students to get on and do a little bit more work. So that's the majority of the reports that are available in this area. There's a couple of other teacher tools that I'd like to show you now. And these are things where you can assign work to students and create your own assessments, things like that. So again, I'm just going to go back to the dashboard. And I'm going to start with the task manager. So this task manager was really designed to help teachers direct students to particular parts of the website. So if you are using an integrated Cambridge textbook, it might be really easy to say, we're using Essential Maths Year 7, we're up to Chapter 6, Unit 1, go and do Chapter 6, Unit 1 on HOTmaths. And that's a nice, easy way to manage it. Otherwise, you can use the task manager to set work for your students. So I'm just going to click on New Task. And I'm going to choose a task from Reasoning and Geometry, and I'm going to choose a task from Angles and Polygons, that's where we were. And I'm going to ask the students to do the level 2 and 3 questions and maybe do the hot sheet. So I want them to fill those in by Friday. Now I can assign this to a whole class of students and we automatically select the whole class for you, or you can untick that All Students box and just choose a couple of different students depending on what you need. You do that by holding down Command as you click on a Mac or Control as you click on a PC. But for now, I'm going to assign this task to all students. Click OK. Now, if the students have already done work in that area, you can choose to delete their work and ask them to do it again, or recognize that they've already done some of it. So assign the task to them knowing that some part of it will already be ticked off. So I'm going to leave the work in there, so I'm not going to delete their previous work. And you can see at the top of the tasks list here, there it is. So that's been assigned to my 9-Red demo class. So I'm just going to log out now and log back onto the HOTmaths site as a student, just to give you an idea of what sort of material is available. And what it looks like for your students. So I've logged on here as a demo student, so normally I'm sure the children in your classes wouldn't have 36 tasks and 2 tests waiting, but just because there's a lot of Cambridge staff out and about showing people HOTmaths, we've got a lot of work in there. So the student can choose to go into the work that's been assigned directly from here, or they can close that notification box, go and do a little bit more work in HOTmaths, and then come to the tasks when they're ready. But they'll always see that little pop-up there notifying them if they have got any outstanding tasks. So we'll just click on the tasks, and you'll see the one that we've just set is up the top, Reasoning and Geometry, Angles and Polygons. Now this student has already completed the level 3 questions, and we decided not to delete the work, so that's already got a tick, that's been done. Students can go from here directly to the part of the site that you've assigned them to. So if I click on the level 2 questions, if I click go, I'll be taken directly to that part of the HOTmaths site. So it's a really easy way for you to be able to get your students exactly where you want them. As a student, if I can't remember what else was in that task, I can just click on the tasks icon up the top, and I can see that's right, I was also meant to go through and do the hot sheets for this lesson. So that's a quite nice, easy way for you to direct students and make sure they're working on the right part of the site. So I'm just going to log out as a student and go back on as a teacher. Sorry. Now if any of you has noticed my username that I'm using today, and also the name of the site HOTmaths, the HOT stands for Higher Order Thinking, so that's where HOTmaths came from. Alright, so I'm back logged on as a teacher now, and I'm just going to go back to the tasks homepage. Now you can see the one that we've set is still at the top here. I can see that no students have completed it yet, so I'm not quite ready to close the task. When you do close a task, it means students can't go in and complete those actions. So it's essentially like saying, this is your homework, it was due by Friday, it hasn't been done, I'm going to close that task. They can still, of course, access that part of HOTmaths, but if they do the work after you've closed it, their work won't be recognised in this task field for you. So to get a bit more information about what your students have been doing, I'm just going to click on the task name here, angles and polygons, and you can see a bit more information. So you can see that 0 out of 5 students have completed the task. If I click here for details, there's my very small class of students, and you can see that none of them have fully completed the task as yet. So this isn't telling you whether or not they answer those questions correctly, it's just telling you whether they've been there and done the work. So as a teacher, this is a really nice class management tool. If you do have students who are a little bit distracted in the classroom, you can set them a task, ask them to go into that task, and then again just sit up the front and refresh this report and watch those crosses turn to ticks. It doesn't mean the students are answering everything correctly, but it does mean they're working in exactly the part of the site that you want them to be in. So I'll just close that task status page. Now if you want more information, because obviously you'd like to know how your students are doing, you can actually view the lesson report for that class. So this is another way to access a report we saw earlier. It's in the reports tab as well, but we've just popped it there in the task to make life easy for you. So you can see here all the details. So the number of walkthroughs completed, questions, scorcher. So that's where you get your in-depth feedback on how students are doing in that particular task. And I'll just close that down. So that's a nice easy way to assign work to your students. But in that instance, you're just assigning work that's already existing in HOTmaths within a lesson. If I go back to the dashboard, I'll show you how you can create your own assessment tasks for your students. So I'm just going to go now into the tests homepage. Alright, so I'm clicking on the test icon here, and you can see we get taken into a test bank. So this is the part of the site where you can use all of those author-written questions that are contained within the lessons to create your own assessment task. So we'll start off by creating a new test. Just going to click on the Create button down the bottom. And you can either do it using a wizard or by manual selection. I'd always recommend using the wizard because it's a really powerful tool. And if you want to tinker around with the test and change things and fine-tune it later on, you can always do that. So I'll start by using the wizard, and then I'm just going to follow these instructions at the top. So test name, we're going to make this a geometry review, and choose the question level breakdown. So that's how many level 1, how many level 2, how many level 3, and how many challenge level questions I want for each lesson I include in my test. So I'm going to have 1 at each level for every lesson that I include. And then you have to select the lessons on the right. So please be careful, there is a limit of 50 questions in a test. So if you choose, for example, all of middle secondary, when I open that up, you'll see that it's actually ticked every topic in middle secondary, and underneath that it's ticked every lesson within every topic. So that's going to be too many questions. So what you need to do is just make sure you drill all the way down until you can't get any further, and then you're at the level of the lesson. So I'm looking at middle secondary here. I'm going to go down to reasoning and geometry. I'm going to choose a couple of lessons from there. And then I might actually bring in something from circle geometry as well. So maybe some cyclic quadrilaterals. So now I've chosen 5 different lessons. And I'm going to get 4 questions for each of those lessons. So if I'm happy with that, I'm just going to click on Generate Test. And the test generator will just pull those resources out from HOTmaths. Alright, so there we go, we've got our geometry review. Now the first thing you probably want to do is have a look at it. So I can bring up a preview really easily with that preview button on the right, and I can just scroll through and get an idea of the sorts of questions that have been selected. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, we should have some lovely cyclic quadrilaterals down there. So I'm not 100% happy with my test yet, so I'm going to edit it. So the first thing I'd like to do is maybe make this question here. If I can't quite see it, there's a little magnifying button. So that's the one I'm going to make the first question of my test. So I'm just going to click and drag it up. If I don't really like this question here, I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm just doing that by clicking on the red delete question button. And if I then want to find a question to replace the one that I've just deleted, I can search for it and add it manually. So if you had have chosen to create your test manually, you do it all like this for each question. This is the manual selection part. So I'm just going to have a look at, let's get something from congruent triangles, and let's get another level 3 question. So here's a sample question. If you're happy with that one, just click the little add to test button, that little orange arrow, and that automatically gets added. It goes right down to the bottom of your test. And of course you can shuffle it around as you like. Now one other thing to note here, while you are fine-tuning your test, just to give you an idea, these stars and symbols on the right hand side represent the levels. So green is level 1, yellow is level 2, red is level 3, and the flame is challenge or level 4 questions. So just to give you an indication of their difficulty. Alright, so I've played around with it a little bit. I'm happy with how I've edited it up. Please do remember to save your changes. And then we can go back to our tests page, and you'll see I've got my geometry review sitting there ready to go. So what I can do from it here, once I click on the test name, all of these options down the bottom become available to me. So the first thing I can do is I can copy the test. And now I've got my copy. Now with that copy I can then choose to go and edit it and just shuffle the order of the questions. So what you're doing here is you're just creating yourself a quick and easy A and B version of the test, if that's something that you'd like to do. Once you're happy it's all shuffled, you can just save it, go back to your tests page, and now you've got an A and B version. The other thing you can do is you can share that test. So if you created that manually, or you've just been working on getting it at just the right level for your students, maybe you're the head of department or head of a year level, or you're just a wonderful teacher, you can actually share that test with all of the other teachers in your school. So that means that, for example, all Year 7 teachers can assign that work to their class and all get back comparable results from exactly the same test. The other thing you can do is you can delete it, of course. You can print it out, so if you'd like the students to complete this in hard copy, you can of course print it out. And all of the colours that are in those images have been designed to work fine in black and white as well, if you do print it in black and white. Well, the final thing of course that you can do is you can assign the test. And when you assign the test to be completed online, of course it's automatically marked for you. So just to let you know, you can create the tests well in advance. So you can make all of your tests for the year over the school holidays or at the start of the term, or whenever you're doing your planning, and you can have them all sitting there ready in your test bank, ready to go. However, as soon as you assign a test, the students get instant access to it. So you can't assign a test and say make it available next Tuesday, just because of all the different time zones across Australia, just to make it fair for everyone. So create your test in advance, and then when you're ready for the students to start it, you go to assign the test. So you can say make it available for 20 minutes, and you've got two different options here. So If you choose assessment, this means that the students only have one attempt at the test, so it's more like a formal testing environment. In an assessment style test, students have one attempt, and when they click submit they get their result, but they don't get the full answers until that 20 minutes that you've set has expired. In a revision style test, students can go in and out of the test as much as they want, and when they're finally happy with it, they can click submit and then they get their full answers and the full results. So that one is more useful for example, an ongoing homework task that can be done over the weekend, something like that. I'm going to set this one as an assessment style test, and again I can choose to send that to everyone in the class or just a couple of students holding down Command or Control. I'll assign this one to everybody and I'll click submit, and that test is now assigned to my class. So to give you an idea of what your students see, I'm going to log out and back in here to show you what the students see. And this poor demonstration student now has even more tasks and tests waiting for her. So again, she can close this notification or you can go straight to it from here. I'm just going to go straight into the tests. Alright, now you can see I've got three up the top that are ready to be started, and the one that we just assigned, the geometry review, it's only got 20 minutes to go. It's been assigned by Mr. Lamont, that's me today. So I'm just going to click and start test. Now because we said assessment, the student gets warned you're only going to have one attempt to answer all the questions. Are you sure you want to start it now? Alright, so this is the test screen that your students will see. So I've broken it down into pages just to make sure that they're not scrolling forever. And there's 5 questions per page. If students do want to see the whole test, they can click down the bottom here and bring up a preview. And they can scroll through quickly and see, for example, that's right, they've put some cyclic quadrilaterals down the very bottom. Now when students start filling this in, and I'm just going to pop any old answers in here now, you can see that little blue progress bar up the top starts getting filled in. So that just gives the students an indication that they are working through the test. When they get to the bottom, they can click to go to the next page, or they can just click through these pages and do them in any order. If they miss a question, so they accidentally have scrolled past this one here, and they can see at the top that something's not been finished yet. There's also a little highlight button down the bottom. So if we highlight it, any unanswered questions literally get a big yellow highlight on them until the student has filled it in. So it means it's really easy for them to find areas that they might have missed. Once they're happy with the test, students can submit it. And they'll get a note. If they haven't completed the test, they'll be told that they've still got some answers unfilled in. Are you sure you want to submit? Yep. So I've received 2 out of 20 correct there. Because we said this was an assignment style test, or assessment style test, rather more formal, they don't get the full answers until that 20 minutes we said has expired. So I'm just going to click OK. That takes me back to my tests homepage, and you can see here I won't get my test results for another quarter of an hour or so. But I can go down and tests that I've done in the past, I can see the full results there. So that's a whole bank of test results available to students. Now I'll log back out as a student and go in to show you the sorts of reports that you get as a teacher. Gosh, I'm not having much luck here today. Alright. So again, it's just back in the tests homepage, and I'm going to click on the test reports tab. Now a lot of schools are using this test generator to build up a bank of resources that their school can use year after year. So they might be issuing the same Year 7 test to a new group of students each year to help them screen the students, or teachers might have a particular assignment that they want students to do leading up to an exam or at the end of week 6. So there can build up to be quite a few test reports in here. So that's why we've added a search field. So you can search for just the tests that you've assigned this year. You can look for particular names, particular dates, particular students. I'm just going to have a look at a test that's got some data for me to show you. Alright, so you can see here we've got a Year 7 review test. I can see a list of all the students that I assigned it to, and I can view results by student or by question. So for now I'm going to start with the student results, and you can see straight away you get given the students' scores, a percentage. You can pull that out in Excel if you need to drop it into a mark book. And if you're worried about any of your students, so you're wondering why Davis Zoolander has struggled so much, you can actually click on their name and see their actual results. So this is also the page that students would see if they go back to see their full test scores and results and all the actual answers after a test has expired and that's available to them. This is what it looks like for students. So of course, green indicates questions answered correctly, red indicates questions answered incorrectly, and you get shown the student's actual answer as well as the correct answer. If I just go back to our tests homepage, I'll just go back to that demo test for you for a moment. Now the other thing that you can do here is you can view results by question. So in this test here, you can see I've got the total percentage of the class that answered each question correctly, incorrectly, or didn't attempt it. So you can then scroll through and see, for example, only 40% of your class answered question 5 correctly. So that might be one that you want to pull up, maybe put it up on the whiteboard and go through together. So that's quite a brief overview of the test generator. There are a couple of other parts of the site here that I wanted to talk to you about really quickly. Firstly, we do have a messaging system, and this messaging system allows you to send one-way messages to students or to whole classes. You can make them expire, so this is only a message for today, so I'm going to make it expire tomorrow. And I can send it to an individual, so let's have a look for Georgia Bubble. That's Georgia Bubble. Or I can send it to a whole class, so I'll send that to my demo class. And you can put whatever, whatever messages you like in there and send that. This is a one-way messaging system, so your students can't reply to you through this mechanism. We did have that in there previously, and teachers let us know that it actually wasn't very helpful. So now it's just you're able to send messages to your students, but they can't come back. Alright, that's the messaging system. Of course, you've seen that you can already put notes in the task manager, so you do have different ways to communicate with the students. The other really important thing that we have here is the dictionary. So you'll notice before we saw some dictionary links within a lesson, but just to let you know that this is always here and always available. We've got a dictionary of mathematical symbols, as well as the dictionary includes, of course, links to a range of terms. So there's a lot of resources there, and that is really useful for students when they're working by themselves. And the other thing that I wanted to mention to you just on this page is that search field. So as I said before, if you are looking for resources, this is a really great place to start. So we can, for example, you could put in turtle and bring up that widget I showed you earlier with the turtle walking around the outside of a polygon. Or you can look for anything you like. So if I search for Pythagoras, it'll bring me some dictionary links, lessons, topics, widgets. So it really brings a whole range of different options for you. And you can see this is just one of those nice widgets that really makes things easy for visual learners. So that's a lot of writing on the whiteboard that you don't have to do. Alright, that's just an example. It's the types of things that you can find really easily by using that search field. Now, just a couple of final comments on the dashboard. I understand that most people that logged onto today's webinar are secondary teachers, so these might not be of as much use to you, but just to give you an idea, and particularly if any of you have children at home and you'd like to give them this, these are great for primary age students. So we have Fundamentals, which is a full resource for Foundation to Year 2 students. That's available through the HOTmaths website here, and it's also available as an iPad app on the App Store. The other thing that we have is Block Buddies, and Block Buddies is a basic arithmetic game. So that's where students can practice their multiplication, addition, division, subtraction, and it's a really fun interactive game, and again they compete to be at the top of the leaderboard. So that's something that they'll be quite keen to have a look at as well. As a teacher, you might find that you might think that these could possibly be a bit of a distraction for your students, but with the task manager showing you exactly where your students are and whether or not they're focusing on what you want them to be doing, hopefully that is something that that won't be too much of a problem for you. The other area that I wanted to mention really briefly was the games area. Alright, so just to give you an idea of the sorts of games that are available, I'll have a look at Octopushy. So Octopushy is an octopus whose job it is to push the fish into the receptacle. You can see here I'm aiming to get to 219. And of course these games do have a little bit of mathematical content. This one works on addition and subtraction. But you'll notice as well that of course the hundreds fish are the biggest and the units fish are the smallest. As an adult, it's actually a little bit difficult to have something following your mouse like this, but your students will be fine with it, I'm sure. So that's an example of the type of games we've got available. Now, we are running out of time, so I do want to thank you all very much for logging on and joining this webinar today. If you have any questions that I haven't answered so far, please do contact your Cambridge consultant and they will be able to help you out. Also, if you'd like a trial of HOTmaths, please get in touch with us if you haven't already got one. Now, I'll let you know where you can get in touch with us. I'll just close that little Octopushy game. And you'll notice here up the top in the help section, there is a contact us tab. So if you do need any assistance, organising students into classes, purchasing subscriptions, using validation codes, anything like that, just use this contact us button on the site. Otherwise, please ask your Cambridge consultant and we'll be more than happy to help you. If you have any other questions, we will be sending through a link after the end of the webinar and you'll be able to contact us through that as well. So thank you all so much for your time, really appreciate it, all the best.